I think my dream job recruiter has been ghosting 200 other applicants and I just accidentally became her inside source. I, 29F, have been job hunting for about 4 months now. My current job isn't horrible, but it's going nowhere and the pay is embarrassing for someone with my experience level. So when I got a LinkedIn message from a recruiter named Danielle back in October, I was genuinely excited. Really excited. She reached out to me specifically, said she'd seen my profile and thought I'd be a perfect fit for a senior UX role at a company called Meridian Creative Partners. I'd actually heard of Meridian. They do branding work for some pretty well-known clients, and the portfolio on their site is gorgeous. The salary range she mentioned was almost double what I'm making now. We had a 45-minute phone call. She was warm, professional, asked smart questions about my portfolio, told me the hiring manager had already shortlisted a small group of candidates, and she thought I had a strong shot. She said the process would move quickly, maybe 2 to 3 weeks total. She'd send me a prep document for the first interview and set up a time to debrief with me after each round. I went into full prep mode. I spent probably 15 hours over 2 weekends researching Meridian, rewriting my portfolio case studies, and practicing my responses. My boyfriend was kind of teasing me about how intense I was getting, and I told him to let me be because this was the one. The first interview was a video call with someone named Greg who said he was the creative director. It went really well, I thought. He laughed at my jokes, asked follow-up questions, said I can absolutely see you in this role. Danielle texted me after to say Greg had great feedback. The second round was a portfolio review with 2 other people, also seemed fine. Then she told me there was one more step, a culture fit conversation with the CEO, which she said was basically a formality at this stage. That was 6 weeks ago. I have sent Danielle 9 messages since then. 9. I've gotten 3 responses, each one vaguer than the last. Still in final deliberations. The CEO's calendar has been a nightmare. Hang tight, you're still very much in the running. I've tried calling the number she originally called me from, and it goes straight to voicemail. I've tried to find her on LinkedIn, and her profile is still there, but something about it started feeling off to me recently. I'll get to that. Last week, I finally did something I probably should have done at the start. I looked up Meridian Creative Partners on Glassdoor and Indeed to see if there were any reviews about their hiring process. There were a few normal reviews about working there, but then I found a thread on a design community forum called Dribbable. Someone had posted asking if anyone else had interviewed for a senior UX role at Meridian through a recruiter named Danielle, because they'd been waiting 8 weeks with no answer. There were 23 replies when I found it. Now there are 47. People from all over the country, some internationally. All contacted by the same Danielle. All went through the same process, same Greg on the video call, same 2-person portfolio review. One woman said she flew in from Portland for what she was told was an in-person final round. Another person said they'd turned down a different offer to stay in the running for this one. Someone else said they'd paid almost $400 to expedite updates to their portfolio site because Danielle said the hiring team would be reviewing it closely. I felt sick reading that thread. Physically sick. I called Meridian's main office number, the one on their website, and asked to speak to someone in HR about their current open roles. The woman who answered was friendly and said they didn't currently have any open senior UX positions. I asked if they'd recently filled one. She paused and said, "Not that I'm aware of. We haven't had a UX opening in quite a while, actually." I asked if they work with a recruiter named Danielle. Another pause, longer this time, and then she said she wasn't sure. They do occasionally work with external recruiters, and could she take my name and number? I don't know if I should have given it to her. I did. I haven't heard back. So here's the part that is really messing with me right now. I went back to Danielle's LinkedIn profile and started looking more carefully. Her photo is professional, but when I put it into a reverse image search, it came back as a stock photo from a site called Shutterstock. Her listed work history includes 2 recruiting firms I can't find any other trace of online. Her connections are 47 people, all of whom appear to be other job seekers, no one who looks like a colleague or industry contact. I think Danielle might not be a real person, but here's the part that is keeping me up at night. The interviews felt real. Greg felt real. The other 2 people in the portfolio review felt real. They asked specific questions about my work. They referenced actual projects in my portfolio by name. Either these are also fake people with a very sophisticated setup, or they're real people at Meridian who have no idea their company's name and interview process is being used for something. And if they're real, what is the actual scam here? No one has asked me for money. No one has asked for my social security number or bank information. I haven't paid for anything. I'm trying to figure out what anyone is getting out of this, and I genuinely can't piece it together yet. One person on the Dribbable thread suggested it might be a data harvesting operation, that the whole point is collecting resumes, portfolios, LinkedIn profiles, and contact info to sell or use in other schemes. Someone else said they'd heard of fake recruitment scams that were actually fronts for getting people to refer the company to other candidates and collect referral fees from desperate applicants. A third person said, and this one made my stomach drop, that sometimes these operations are testing phishing vulnerabilities, that the interviewers are real but working for someone else entirely and using the Meridian name without Meridian knowing. I don't know which of those is true. Maybe none of them. Maybe all of them in some combination. What I do know is that 2 days ago, I got a text from Danielle. Not an email, a text, to my personal cell. She said, "Hi. So sorry for the delay, things have been hectic on their end. I have some exciting news, the CEO would like to move forward. She wants to do a brief final call this week, and then we'd be looking at an offer by end of month. Can you confirm you're still interested and available?" I stared at that message for probably 10 minutes. My first instinct was to say yes and try to get as much information as I could. Figure out what the actual ask is going to be. Because at some point there has to be an ask, right? Nobody runs a fake 6-week multi-round interview process for nothing. My second instinct was to call the police or the FTC or someone official, but I'm not sure what crime has technically been committed yet. I haven't lost any money. I haven't given any sensitive financial information. I've given my resume, my portfolio link, my phone number, and my time. I don't even know if any of that constitutes fraud. My third instinct was to go back to that dribbable thread and tell everyone what just happened, see if anyone else got the same text. I did that last one. 3 other people confirmed they got the identical text, word for word, within the same hour, so that's where I am right now. I have not responded to Danielle's text yet. I've been sitting on it for 48 hours. Part of me wants to respond and play along to find out what the end game is. Part of me is scared that if I engage further, I'm going to end up in some worse situation I don't fully understand yet. Also, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, there is still a tiny irrational part of my brain that keeps whispering, what if it's real and I'm about to torpedo my shot at doubling my salary over a paranoid spiral? I know how that sounds. But I also spent 15 hours prepping for a job that might not exist, and I don't know whether to laugh or cry about that. I'll update when I know more. Update 1. Okay, so I posted the original and went to bed and woke up to 847 notifications, which, genuinely, I was not prepared for. Thank you all for the DMs and comments. I've read almost all of them, and a few of you have said things that changed how I'm thinking about this, so I'll get to that. First, I responded to Danielle. I know some of you are going to say that was stupid. Maybe it was. But after reading through the comments and doing basically zero sleeping, I decided the only way I was ever going to understand what this actually is was to keep the door open and see where she tried to walk me through it. So I kept it neutral. I wrote, yes, still very interested. This week works. What days/times does she have available? That's it. No enthusiasm, no questions, nothing that would tip her off that I know anything. She responded in 4 minutes. Which, by the way, is faster than she has ever responded to me in 4 months of communication. She said Tuesday at 2 p.m. worked and she'd send a calendar invite with a video link. The calendar invite came from a Gmail address. Not a company email. A Gmail. I screenshot everything and posted it to the dribbable thread. Within 2 hours, 6 other people confirmed they had also been offered Tuesday slots. Not all at 2 p.m., different times throughout the day, but all Tuesday. One woman named Priya, who has kind of become the de facto organizer of this whole situation on the thread, made a spreadsheet. As of last night, there are 11 of us who accepted the Tuesday call. Priya also did something I hadn't thought to do. She emailed Meridian's official contact form directly, not called, emailed, with a very professional note explaining that she had been in a recruitment process for a senior UX role through a third party and wanted to verify the position existed before proceeding to a final round. She forwarded the email to the thread. This morning, she got a response. I'm going to type this out because I want to get it exactly right. The email came from someone named Claire, who identified herself as Meridian's operations manager. It said, "Thank you for reaching out. We are aware that our company name has been used without our authorization in connection with fraudulent recruitment activity. We are currently working with legal counsel and have been in contact with relevant authorities. We strongly advise you not to proceed with any further steps in this process and to report what you have experienced to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. We are sorry this happened to you." So, that answered that. There was no job. There was never a job. Greg is not Meridian's creative director. Or if he is, he has no idea his face and name have been attached to fake interviews. I sat with that email for a long time. I kept thinking about the specific questions Greg asked me. He asked about a rebrand project I did for a nonprofit client in 2022, referenced the color palette choices I made, asked why I moved away from a warmer tone in the second iteration. That is not a generic question. That is someone who looked at my portfolio. Which means someone, a real human being, spent time on my work and asked me thoughtful questions about it, and the whole thing was designed to make me feel seen and chosen. That's the part that actually makes me angry. Not just scared or creeped out, actually angry. I filed the FTC report. I also forwarded Claire's email to the Dribbble thread and watched the responses come in for about an hour. A lot of people are upset. The woman who flew in from Portland posted something, and I could feel how exhausted she was through the screen. She said she's been unemployed for 7 months. My Tuesday 2 p.m. call is in 3 days. I haven't decided yet whether to show up to it. Update 2. I showed up. Before anyone says anything, I talked to my boyfriend about it the night before, and he was not thrilled, but he understood why I needed to know. I also told Priya and 3 other people from the thread, and we agreed that whoever attended their calls would screen record the entire thing, not say anything that could be used against us, and report back immediately. I want to be clear, I went in knowing it was fake. I was not hoping it was real. That little voice in my head from the original post had gone completely quiet by this point. The call started, and it was a woman I hadn't seen before. She introduced herself as Sandra, CEO of Meridian Creative Partners. She looked professional. Good lighting, bookshelf in the background, the whole setup. I said hello and let her talk. She did a lot of complimenting me. Said Greg and the portfolio review team had raved about me. Said I was exactly the kind of hire they'd been looking for. Then she got into the role specifics, and it sounded polished, rehearsed, but detailed enough that someone who hadn't done all this research might find it convincing. Then she said, "Before we talk about the formal offer, I do want to mention one thing. We've started requiring final round candidates to complete a professional background verification through a service we partner with. It's standard practice for senior hires. The cost is $149, and it's typically reimbursed in your first paycheck." There it is. There it is. I kept my face neutral. I said, "Oh, interesting. Is that something Meridian requires across all senior hires, or just UX?" She said it was across all senior roles, completely standard, very quick process, just needed a credit card to initiate. I said, "Can you send me the name of the verification service so I can look it up before I put in my card info? I'd just like to do my due diligence." She smiled and said absolutely, she'd have Danielle send it over. I said, "Great. One other thing I wanted to ask, I've been trying to reach someone at Meridian's main office just to confirm a few logistics, and I haven't been able to connect. Is there a direct line you'd recommend?" Her smile didn't change, but something behind it did. It's hard to explain. Like a fraction of a second of recalibration. She said, "Danielle is really your best point of contact for anything during the process." I said, "Of course. I'll wait to hear from her." We ended the call. I immediately texted Priya, "It's a background check fee. $149. She texted back, "Mine too." Hers was $175. Someone else in the thread got $199. The amounts are different for different people, and I genuinely don't know if that's random or if they're calibrating based on something in our profiles, like seniority or location or how eager we seemed. I posted everything to the Dribbble thread and also added it to my FTC report. A few people in the comments on my original post had mentioned that this specific scheme, fake job, fake multi-round interview, background check fee, is a documented scam pattern, and apparently the fee amounts varying is intentional. It makes it harder to identify as a coordinated operation. What I still don't fully understand is the scale of the infrastructure here. The fake LinkedIn profile, the multiple interviewers, the calendar systems, the different email addresses, Sandra's whole setup. That's not one person running a quick phishing scheme. That's organized. That took effort and money to build. Someone in the comments of my last post, who said they work in cybersecurity, said this is almost certainly a larger operation running multiple fake companies simultaneously, and Meridian just happened to be a real company with a legitimate enough web presence to borrow credibility from. They said the interviewers are probably overseas contractors who are paid to do the calls and have no idea what they're participating in, or do know and don't care. That possibility is doing something to me that I'm still processing. Update 3. Something happened that I wasn't expecting, and I need to write it out. I got a call 2 days ago from a 503 area code, Portland, Oregon. I almost didn't answer because I didn't recognize the number, and I've been a little jumpy about unknown calls lately, honestly. But I picked up. It was the woman from Portland. The one who flew out for the in-person final round. Her name is Melissa. She found my Reddit post through the Dribbble thread and somehow tracked down that I was the person who wrote it, which I was not exactly hiding, and she asked if she could talk. We ended up on the phone for almost 2 hours. She told me the in-person meeting she flew to was at a WeWork in downtown Chicago. She said there were 2 other candidates in the waiting area when she arrived. They made small talk. They were all there for the same role. She met with 2 people in a conference room, not Greg, different people, and the interview was thorough enough that she left feeling genuinely hopeful. She spent $340 on flights. She took 2 days off work from a freelance contract she was in the middle of. She said that by the time she got the background check ask, she'd already invested so much that she almost paid it. She said she had her credit card out. She didn't pay. Something stopped her, and she said she still can't articulate exactly what it was, just a feeling. She has been unemployed for 8 months now. She has a daughter who just started middle school. She said she feels like an idiot, and I told her she's not an idiot. I told her these people spent real money building something that was designed specifically to make smart, qualified, careful people feel like it was real. She was quiet for a second, and then she said, "How much do you think they've made off this?" And I've been thinking about that ever since. If even 10% of the people in that dribbable thread paid the fee, at an average of $160, that's over $700 from just the people we know about. But we don't know how many people never found the thread. We don't know how many other companies' names are being used the same way. We don't know how long this has been running. Melissa said she's been in contact with a journalist at a tech publication who covers workplace and labor issues. She asked if I'd be willing to talk to them. I said I needed to think about it. I'm still thinking about it. The dribbable thread is at 94 replies now. Someone added a pinned comment at the top with the FTC link and a template report for anyone who wants to file quickly. Priya has been keeping the spreadsheet updated. There's talk of someone filing a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, because apparently the interstate element, Melissa flying from Portland, other people engaging across state lines, might make this a federal matter. I don't know where this is going. I genuinely don't. I started this trying to understand what happened to me, and now I'm in a group chat with 11 strangers who are trying to figure out if we have enough to get someone to take this seriously. Danielle still follows me on LinkedIn. I haven't blocked her yet because I keep thinking there might be something useful in keeping that open. Or maybe I'm just not ready to close the door on understanding this completely. I don't know. My boyfriend keeps checking in on me, and last night he said, "You know you're allowed to just let this go," and I looked at him and said, "Melissa spent $340 to fly to Chicago," and he didn't say anything after that. The journalist is supposed to reach out this week. Hi there, if you made it so far. Consider dropping a like and maybe subscribing. Thanks. And have a nice one.